Hi, everyone. This is Cathy Rodriguez-Aguirre, President and CEO for the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and you are joining us for our weekly series, Juntos with Cathy, where we bring in leaders, community contributors, interesting people that we partner with throughout the region to do the work that we do. And the past few weeks, we've been introducing you to our different board members. And this week, I am wearing purple, so maybe you can guess who we have. This week, we have Alex Rodrigo, and he is the Senior Vice President and General Manager for the Golden One Center and Sacramento Kings. And we're looking forward to our conversation with him today. Welcome, Alex.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Just coming off a nice competitive win last night against the Lakers, and we're back at it today here. And I'm actually in my office here at the Golden One Center, so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Well, we're excited to have you. So, Alex, you've been on our board almost a year. I was realizing the other day, but you kind of came in during this time when there's been a lot of activity, but because of our change and being able to meet in person, a lot of people haven't gotten to know you here with the chamber. So that's why I was really excited to have you here. So over there at the Golden One Center, you are Senior Vice President and General Manager for the Golden One Center and the Sacramento Kings. Can you tell us a little bit what that means and what that role is over there?
Yeah, so I think the easiest way to explain it would be, being a senior vice president with the Sacramento Kings, and working directly for the team. This is the third professional team that I've worked for in my career, in my sports career, and it encompasses both sports and entertainment. So now with the NBA, prior to that, I was with the NHL, and then prior to that, I was with Major League Baseball and working with them. So, and then as the general manager of the Golden One Center, overseeing, quite a few departments in the business operations and partnership, obviously with our executive team, of everything that happens here inside the arena, which is more than just basketball. And those are words that you hear Vivek, our chairman and owner as well, has said. And we'll get into that more later, but it's really about the power of sports and entertainment. And there's a lot that happens here in the building, well over 200 events and everything from large and small and things that we'll talk about, as we said, with regards to, the portfolio that we manage here. So
that's great. And you said this is 3 different teams or 3 different sports that you've been involved with, right? Yep. And but knowing you've also had like a different path to get here. Can you share a little bit of your story and how you came to be where you are at this moment?
Yeah, certainly not the traditional path. And I probably, wouldn't recommend it, but it's certainly exciting on many levels. I never envisioned myself being in sports. I am extremely fortunate to be here. And by way of, born and raised in Los Angeles, in LA, actually born in Hollywood, which is on my birth certificate.
Oh, wow.
No claim to fame. But born and raised in Hollywood. My parents are from South America, Colombianos. Grandfathers are German and Italian, so it's a big mix. But my parents immigrated to this country. My father started a small business, a gas station, una gasolinera. And so I grew up around that environment of, my father in the gas station and my mother getting her start in large corporate business, which she stayed with for 45 years, which is a testament to her fortitude and her ability to get her education and retire as an executive with a major insurance company on a global. Wow. But anyway, Air Force 8 years as a young buck. I decided that I wanted to go to the military, and I spent 8 years in the Air Force in the bomb squad, 3 overseas tours, Japan, wow. Korea, Central South America, and Panama. And then, after that, I pivoted into the world of hospitality. And then a few years of success in that. I opened the Bellagio during that time in '98. Then I transitioned into development and commercial real estate with Colliers International, forming a division. So my path has always taken me either through operations, some form of commercial development, hospitality as well. So I've learned every facet of the business, and that really set me up well for a career that I had no idea really existed. You never really pay attention to those things until I got a phone call from a friend of mine who had been doing some work with the St. Louis Cardinals and just about to launch a $1 billion project, and they were looking for some talent, and we had known each other. And 20 years later, you're getting that phone call about trying to put the band back together. And luckily for me, I was hired, and that started me on this path in sports. So in the interest of time, I'm trying to condense,
Oh, no, it's so interesting. So you've done, so it was baseball, hockey, right? NHL.
Yep.
and now basketball.
That's right.
So does it hurt to ask, was there a favorite sport among these, or?
Yeah, I think the one that I can relate to the best, is basketball. I'm not much of a shooter, but it's the childhood, playing out on the court, skins versus shirts. Growing up in LA, you just play, and I got beamed in the face a couple times playing baseball, so I think I kind of hung up the bat on that one. And I never played hockey, so but the beauty of our industry now in sports is it's funny. We're seeing a transition over the last probably 10 years where we're bringing in folks that don't have any sports experience, whether they ever played a sport or they came up through the ranks, because the level of diversity and the things that we're trying to do, whether you're engaging with the community or on a global level, the social platforms, digital media, technology, the operational elements, all these things that are colliding within this space that we call it either an arena or a stadium or sports, really brings in people from so many different facets and walks of life that it's been exciting in the last 10 years to see that before it would be rare if you didn't have any experience with that sport. Now it seems to become more of a common thing where you're seeing people sit in a room and may not have any experience whatsoever with it. And that's okay. We actually welcome that, because you bring a fresh perspective and you look at the business of sport or entertainment from a different lens. And that's what we're at times trying to recruit and attract, because they, give you a very honest perspective on the way things, either from a customer or maybe from the employee, or from other businesses that are trying to connect with you as well. It's good to get that fresh perspective.
That's so great, Alex. I like the part you said, that you associated most with basketball. I do too. Not being a naturally athletic person, I actually fell in love with the Sacramento Kings after the first time I went to arena, and came and saw. It was Mitch Richmond, so I'm dating myself a little bit, but he was my first time. His signed basketball hat is here. Like, I went in line to go get it signed and do all of that. What do you think it is about this fan experience that so makes the arena that much more exciting? And how are you guys adapting right now? How is the team playing without having really the fans there to provide that additional energy? Do you feel like they miss it?
Yeah, I think so. So let's talk about the power of sports, which I think is, that first question about, well, maybe I got it reversed, is from the fan experience. In my career, I have seen and experienced it both as an executive now in sports and prior to that, just being a fan. When you look at who's coming in through the doors, right? It's 3 to 4 generations coming together, right? And all walks of life. And it's not just men, it's, a good diverse mix of men and women. And like I said, everybody from under the sun and generational, right? You got the little kids and the grandfathers and the mom and dads that are coming through. I go back to an experience I had when I was in the military. I think it was back in '94 when we had the World Cup. And what I've watched, like the power of soccer, and it translates to every other sport. A particular state or region can be, take the country, the United States, for instance, could be at odds with itself. And obviously this last year, a couple of years, we've seen a lot of that division. But for a moment in time, when the country or that particular team or that state is playing against another rival, another country, another state, we tend to put our differences aside and we are cheering, well, right? That country, your country. And you're in that moment in time, in that block of exclusivity per se, you're all aligned. You want your team to win. And more so when you see it in the Olympics and things of that nature. And you realize, like, I remember telling friends of mine, I said, I wish we could capture that spirit of unity that sports sometimes, allows us to put things to the side and say, hey, we are all going to cheer together. And there's some good banter that goes on. And so you continue those efforts through here at a local and regional level. You realize that the importance of sports and what it does to promote young men and women, good values and the idea of teamwork and all the things that we talk about, establishing a playbook and what that does in creating the X's and O's is not necessarily just about what your place on the team is, but your responsibility to the other people there in order to achieve success or just to ultimately play together. And I think outside of just the immediate sport, the impact that you have within the community, we have a really robust, I'm not sure how many people know this, but a food charter that's called 9150, and that means that 90% of everything that's eaten, procured, sold within our building comes within 150 miles of our building. That is an extremely challenging program to manage. We take so much pride in that because it actually impacts the community. It truly is farm to fork. We can point to the vendors and to the businesses, whether they're large or small, that we're working with in order to, buy Sacramento for Sacramento, right? Everything's happening within our local region. And I think that's just one of the many things that we're doing now that shows not only our support, but our commitment to staying connected within the community. And then you look at the social impact and the things that have happened over the years, and both Vivek, Martina, and John, and the rest of the amazing people within our organization that, once again, basketball aside, have stepped out and gotten involved. And it's opening our building as a voting center. It's getting behind social justice and realizing the things that we need to do in order to not only stay relevant, but it's the right thing to do. And taking a stand when maybe you're only one of two, or maybe just one of one. And then you look back and you see, after a couple of years of doing that, you see that, there are more of us standing together, working in that direction. And that is really what makes me so proud of being a part of the Sacramento Kings. And it's part of what brought me here. I wasn't looking for a job, but the opportunity presented itself. And, the organization, the region, the state, there's so many boxes that I was looking to check, and I was able to check them all. And I am extremely proud to be here and to be a part of the community.
That's so fantastic, Alex, to hear. And I love that whole part when you talk about the commitment you guys have, to making sure this farm to fork and that everything is local. And I don't think that story is told as loudly as it can be and should be, to remind people that the arena that's there is actually, it's everyone's, right? And it's that commitment to make sure that everyone is doing well. And for you too, you said there's the Sacramento Kings, but there's also, the rest of the calendar year, right? So the 200 plus events you were talking about, the basketball games are a portion of them, but what other events do you come in, and what is it that your team needs to do to get ready for that? Because we see ultimately, the concert that's in front of us, or, presentation, but there's a lot that has to happen in order for us to get to that piece. So what is that kind of like?
Yeah, I was hoping you'd ask me the question about entertainment, because I know we've had one of your favorite stars, J-Lo. That was
yes.
And so, I think that's the draw for some of the young men and women that are out there saying, I want to get into entertainment, I want to work. And one of the first things I tell them is like, what you see on TV is absolutely, this moment, but it takes so much to get there, and it takes so much to manage that. And then once that's over, you're flipping right into, the next event. And a good example of that, we just hosted, the Lakers last night. We had a tremendous game on the court. We were able to win. Teams on the plane, they're flying out, and now the court and everything that you saw last night on the arena floor is gone. We're preparing for another flooring system to come in. And so in less than 12 hours, we've completely changed what that set looks like. And so if you think of our business as, it's live performances, right? It's living theater, it's living, breathing events that happen. There's so much work that goes into it, the advancing of the schedules, the needs, security, the food, the hospitality, the parking, the ticketing that goes with it, and all the different things that, whether it's sports or entertainment, it needs in order to succeed. And then the professional elements to it as well. People don't realize that, Justin Bieber comes into the building, or Taylor Swift, or J-Lo, or Sir Elton John. These sets are massive, and they have lights and speakers and things that are hanging from the rafters, well over 100,000 pounds, that are being rigged in the air, that require engineering and skilled labor in order to be able to execute that, and then make sure that you're safe, right? I mean, you don't want to be down on the floor of the concert and all of a sudden concerned about things in the air coming down. And so, and then being able to execute the quality of the show, and then using technology now in order to be able to reach people through social media or through our digital platforms to stay connected in the moment, right? So now you're at a concert, got your phone out, you're, going live feed or taking photographs. These things are now also then being shared. And that shared content is powerful now in the moment, and so the building, that infrastructure to be able to maintain one of the most technologically advanced buildings in the world is this massive data infrastructure that requires not only, careful attention and a commitment, But when you look at the teams that we have here, from our tech ops and our technology group, that are working hard day in and day out to make sure that this system is up and it's robust and it's keeping us connected, is a tremendous responsibility in addition to all the other things. So what I tell everybody is, like, be prepared to be on your feet, working long hours, staying connected, being in the moment, because the most important thing is what is in front of you. And from a game to a concert, everybody's working within a 24-hour period. So we may have gone from a game, you immediately strike that set. We welcome Taylor Swift and her 35, 53-foot trucks that come in with all their stuff at 2 o'clock in the morning. We start building the set out. We start rigging all the things. We open up our building. We get people in. We have an amazing show. The minute that show is over, you're breaking that all down, wrapping it up, putting it back in the trucks, and they're out by 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning. And then you're building the set for basketball the next day, or maybe another concert, or maybe a gala or something that's going to happen here in the building. So there's always something happening here. So we're not just sitting around listening to music, watching games, but it's a really rewarding and thrilling experience. And so
there's a lot that's being orchestrated to get to see what we see.
It is, yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, very specific details, like I said, things that are extremely important to not only the enjoyment or the content or the obligations you have to your business partners, but then also the safety, and you want to make sure that everyone's having fun, because this is a luxury to be able to do this.
Is there anyone that you had an opportunity to meet that you were pleasantly surprised by when you got to meet them?
Say that again. I didn't catch that the first one.
Yeah. Is there anyone through all of this that you've got, had the opportunity to meet that you were surprised, pleasantly surprised once you got to meet them? They really stood out to you.
The artists. The artists and the players. There's some really genuine moments when you're in this business that you get to see that happen off camera. That are, and without going into specific names, there's many. Of just the generosity, the kindness, the gratitude. There's these little inspiring moments which I take as an opportunity for us to support and promote the next generation that's coming through. And whether it's someone who's pursuing a career in engineering, I welcome them to come by, or technology, and walk the building and be inspired by the things that you could potentially do. And I think that's what we serve. Vivek had this thing, this or many visions of the overarching vision is, we're a communal fireplace. We're the town hall where people can come together, and we need to use this building when you walk with somebody. There's the one thing about being on the court, which you're welcome to come down here. If you ever want to come down, you and I, we can take a few, free throws and see how we do. But when you start peeling back the walls and realize what it takes, to build this infrastructure, and the achievements that we've had as an organization, it's our responsibility to share that and then promote it and nurture, those relationships for the futures to come, and challenge them to look at the world, differently, and use their platforms for doing good within the community. One thing I wanted to share with everybody was, we're talking about business, is that as my father being a small business owner, one of the things that drew me to being part of the chamber, and was Phil Garcia. I'll always, he's the ambassador of Quan. He's the guy that got me in, and then I was bought in, obviously, into the leadership that was there. I don't take this responsibility lightly of being part of the chamber. I'm extremely passionate about the work that we get to do in and around the community. Our responsibility, as a community, to be able to support one another, understanding that as the son of a young business owner, back in the day, and coming up through that, and how hard it is to keep a business and to work at it constantly, and to have this tremendous liability and this responsibility to not only your customers, but to your staff. That's probably been the biggest challenge that I've had to go through in this past year with the pandemic. That as a year ago, come March 11th, we were on the floor canceling a game minutes before tip-off. And that was the beginning of the pandemic for us. And from that, then we had to understand and make sense of the world, as everyone is trying to, but what's this mean? And in that, we had so many questions, and part of our responsibility and leadership, and everyone's now afraid of not only getting sick, but then what's going to happen to my job? How am I going to provide for my family? What's going to happen to all of us? And then you're starting to see kind of, this anxiety, the levels of anxiety, and the the desire and the need for information. I think that's where, as an organization, whether it be through the chamber, as the Sacramento Kings, we have a responsibility to provide and lead in those times. Even if we don't have the information, it's through patience, transparency, and communication that we're able to walk the walk with everybody. And so for many folks out there, we've been steadfast in holding our position here and trying to make sense of that and supporting the state and local agencies and building an alternate care facility in Natomas, supporting the COVID efforts, working with local health officials and all the different hospitals, and trying to understand, what can we do, right? We weren't standing still and just licking our wounds, but we were active within the community trying to find a place. And I just go back to that. I think that the best is yet to come. These challenges have, reminded us of what's important. There was a time here a year ago, come March 11th, where the majority of us were trying to create distance. And there was this amazing group of people, our frontline healthcare workers, that were closing the gap and reaching out to help those in need. And, that makes me emotional, because I was standing there watching this unfold, and I'm like, wow, there's this core group, and that's the essence of being, a human being. And all these folks that, just took on the challenge to say, we're going to fight and do this thing together. And if we can continue those same efforts, right, across all things, not just COVID, but now in our community, whether it be through small or large business, I think we have an incredible path ahead of us if we just stay true to the lessons learned, that Juntos, we can do stuff. I didn't just write that in, but I believe it. Listen, someone asked me, my father had this un cuadrito que colgaba en la casa, and it said, querer es poder. And that has always stuck with me. And, I'm touched by that, and I'm reminded of that, during these really challenging times. And, I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that, we're talking about, sports and entertainment, but we really feel, and I certainly, can relate with, what's happening out there, to all those that are in business, whether you're an employee or a business owner, the responsibility we have to each other and as a community, and as our local legislation and politicians have a responsibility as well to not only protect us, but also, trying to keep forging ahead and getting back to some better times. So.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree, Alex. I hope everyone that's listening and see why we're very excited to have Alex on our with a tremendous, expertise and knowledge, but mostly the care that you bring to someone on their side. And that's what I firmly believe the chamber, does. We're here to advocate, for them, but also just to show the care, that we understand that, just like you said, your dad, small business owner, and I bet he would say the same phrase I've heard from so many of our small business owners. It's, it's para mi familia. It's for my family that I'm doing this. Yeah. And so I think it's important for people to realize that the leadership that we have here lives that too, that we look at all our small businesses and realize we understand, because that's the way our family is. And we want everyone to feel like we're going to treat you the way we would treat our own family. Oh, and believe it or not, as we are coming down to our conversation, these always go so much more quickly than I thought. But I have one last question for you.
Sure.
Okay. And pretty easy. So we're in the middle of Women's History Month right now. And I wonder if you could leave us with, maybe a role model, model for you that's a woman that, most impacted, your life.
My mother. I mean, I hope she gets, I'm sure she'll get a chance to see this.
We'll send it to her now.
Yeah. My mom came to this country. She was, young with my dad. They were both in love, and, they didn't speak English, very limited. This is late 60s. Managed to, get a job and, filing papers with a company, and put herself through school. And, went on 45 years later to, retire as an executive with that organization through multitude of, acquisitions and mergers, and stay true to herself, and Cathy, I'd love to say this, and I think all the men in our organization, I've got a huge shout out to to Juan Novello, and to all the amazing men like Phil Garcia and so on. But the women, you know, yourself, Cathy, and Mary, who's on her way out, Lydia, who's taking on. Someone asked me the other day, say, hey, you know, what are some of your goals with the chamber? And I said, to support our executive committee, and to support the women that are leading our organization, like yourself and Lydia now, who's in the position of chair, and to just lean into this 100%. So my mother, true and true, you know, tremendous admiration and respect. And she's the one that also instilled, like, let's get going. We're not laying around. So get to it. And I'm like, okay. But yeah, it's my mother. And, you know, going back to being, you know, proud of that. I'm also within our organization surrounded by some very amazing women who are just, you know, just killing it. And it's such a pleasure to be a part of that.
That's so great. Well, Alex, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for Juntos with Cathy, and for all you bring. You know what, like I said before, I think as people get to know you here in the chamber world, they're going to find that exactly what you are today, so authentic and so caring about all that you do, and you bring that great energy and enthusiasm. So I appreciate you taking time to talk with us today, and I'm looking forward to continue our work together here at the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Likewise, I want to wish everyone health and happiness in 2021, and yeah, I look forward to staying engaged and involved. So thank you so much for having me.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
And everyone that joined us today on Thursday for our Juntos with Cathy, we're here every week at noon, bringing new individuals for you to hear from, leadership here at the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber, partners that we have, community contributors. We're excited to share with you what we're doing, and certainly the people that are involved with us. And I hope that you found in this series that we've had of our new board members that we have some great leadership that's excited to work with you, is excited to advocate for our small businesses, and, you know, all understand that it's a privilege to serve you. So until next week, we'll see you on Thursday then. Thanks so much and have a great day.